And now, for the week of October 16th, Adobe Photoshop TV is on the air.
Welcome to Adobe Photoshop TV from the National Association of Photoshop Professionals. And here's your hosts, the Photoshop guys, Scott Kelby, Dave Cross, and Matt Klaskowski.
Welcome, everybody, to another vertiginous episode of Adobe Photoshop TV, brought to you by the National Association of Photoshop Professionals. The fine, fine people who bring you Photoshop User Magazine.
This week's episode is brought to you by the folks over at CDW. Anything you buy for the computer, anything you buy anywhere, go to cdw.com.
Also, we are sponsored by DLO, Digital Lifestyle Outfitters. If you want to watch Photoshop TV on your TV, use the Home Dock Deluxe from DLO.
And also iStockPhoto.com, a place where you can not only purchase stock photography, you can also sell your own at iStockPhoto.com.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode. We are here. My name is Scott Kelby, and also here from the great country of Canada, Mr. Dave Cross.
Good day, everyone. Welcome once again.
And joining me as well, Mr. Matt Klaskowski.
Welcome back, everybody.
The Steam Maker.
Yes.
Well, we have got a show for you. It's
a show
packed full of show goodness and things. And we're going to get so right to it. Oh, by the way, before we get to it, because I brought a tutorial this week. I'm going to start with the first one. But we might even have a special just guest appearance from the Photoshop Laddie. That's right, the Laddie may be cruising through today. Trying to warm him up, trying to ease him into it. The Laddie. All right, I brought you a tutorial. Well, that's what we do, we bring things. I brought a tutorial. My tutorial, it was inspired by a poster that I saw, and I don't know who the poster was by. It was one of those ones that you buy at the store. But it used a rose, and it was a nice layout. And I thought, well, how would you do that in Photoshop? So here's a way to take a photo that is, this is a photo I took a year ago that it was one of what I call a throwaway shot, where you don't really like it. It's just a really, really close-up of a rose. Snore. Okay, so anyway, this is kind of a way I think to do something with it. What we're going to do is we're going to start off by, you're going to build, here's the trick. You're going to build 5 squares, perfect squares, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right across the screen. Now, Dave Cross, I had a way to do it, which was took a little bit of math and stuff, and Dave Cross showed me a better way, and that is, we're going to go to quick mask mode, so either plus...
Make your selection first.
Oh, make a selection first. Thank you, Dave.
First one.
Yeah, so Dave just showed me this, so I'm still in the, There we go. So we draw a little square selection. Then you're going to go to quick mask mode. You can either press the letter Q or just click on this icon right there, the quick mask icon. And you go into quick mask mode. Now, usually you can see the photograph much better than you're seeing it here, but because it's a red rubylith over a red rose, it just looks like a big mess. What you're going to do is just draw another selection over your little square that's left from your selection. Then you're going to press Option-Command-T on Mac. It would be Alt-Control-T on PC to bring up the free transform. Now, so you've got the free transform handles around here. Now you're going to hold the Option key on Mac or the Alt key on PC and the Shift key to keep it straight, and you're just going to drag your selection over a little bit. Now that seems kind of tedious, but watch what you do now. So once you go there, you press Enter or Return to lock in your deal. Now you're going to add one more key to your keyboard shortcut. Instead of just Option-Command-T, you're going to make it Shift Option-Command-T, or on PC, Shift Alt-Control-T, and watch. It spaces and makes another selection for you. And unfortunately, it made one right off the page. I think it's pretty close, though. So here's what you're going to do. When you switch back to regular mode by pressing the normal button or pressing Q again, there's your 5 squares right there. Now you can just kind of click in the middle of them and move them where you want, something like that. All right, let's make them up a little higher. How's that? So they're not just dead center. There we go. Something like that. Now, we're going to press Command-J or a PC Control-J. What that's going to do, it's going to take the parts of the rows that are behind these squares and put them up on their own separate layer. Now you go to here's the layers palette you can see. Now you go to the background layer, select all, and hit delete. And there's your 5 little spaced out things. And now you're going to just do 2 things. I'm going to open up a scan of my signature. Here's a scan of my signature right here. And we're going to drag it into the document. and we're going to scale it down like this. All right, pretty far down, something like that. Now we're going to lower the opacity quite a bit to where it's just kind of just barely there. And then we're going to grab our text tool. I'm using the font Trojan Pro, which comes with the Creative Suite. And then we're going to click right down here and type in Kelby Photography. And you're done. That's it.
Very cool.
It's something. Well, I think it's kind of a cool way to fix your photo that you would have thrown away, and that's one I've never shown anyone because it's one of those photos I just didn't like. It was just, hey, it's a picture of a rose. Alrighty. That being said, hey, Matt and I have been turned on to a thing. Dave's been turned on to it too, but Matt and I remembered to bring our cameras today.
I missed the memo.
He missed the memo.
Again.
And this is not a sponsor. This is not something we're plugging, but it's something that's really cool that we like. And what they are blue lanyards, and you can buy them in other colors. No, what they are is this thing called Expo Disc. Now, if you watched our live from Photoshop TV, or our live from Photoshop World episode of Photoshop TV, you saw us talking about them. And so we could only describe them as a cool thing. Now we can actually show you. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to have Pamela, our executive producer, basically come and pose. But here's what they do. They're designed to fit on the end of your camera. Now, this is the 77 millimeter one. So if you have a 77 millimeter, which is pretty big, it snaps right on the back. In fact, I think, Matt, you got a 77 millimeter there? Mm-hmm. It snaps right on the front. So Matt's going to show you how these little discs snap on. And what these things do is they set the perfect white balance for you. And if you're wondering why this is so important, well, do you spend time in Photoshop color correcting, removing color cast and things like that? If you buy this, not anymore, because basically it will remove your color cast because it sets a neutral 18% gray neutrality for you in the camera. All right? So,
Very cool stuff.
It is very cool stuff, and it's so simple to use. We're going to show you how to use it right now. So Pamela's going to come on here. This is Pamela, our executive producer. She's usually over there laughing and shaking her head at us, but she's here now like that. We see that all show long. You sometimes with her hands in her head and things like that.
Oh, yeah, that's how she's always looking.
Okay, so basically Matt's going to show you how this works. But again, what we're doing is we're going to set the white balance in the camera by creating a custom white balance. Very, very simple to create a custom white balance. All right, step one.
Step one, I'm going to take a photo without doing the custom white balance.
Okay, go ahead and
Because I
take
want to
using
show
your auto white balance.
So, auto white balance, step back just a little bit. Okay, ready? Am I on camera here? Can they see me taking it? Good. All right, ready? Okay. We now have our photo with auto white balance.
The before.
Now, yeah, that's the before photo.
Before.
All right, now what you're going to do is you're going to set your white balance to, well, on a Nikon, you set it to pre. So basically, you hold the white, we're using Nikon D200, so there's a little white balance on the top, little button, and you just move the little wheel here until it actually says, in big letters, PRE. All right? And that's basically going to let you know you're about to create a custom white balance. Then you're going to press it again, and it starts to flash. Now, Matt, when it's flashing, what do you do next?
When it's flashing, you want to put your Expo disc on the camera. All right. And
now,
one of the nice things about the Expo disc is it actually detaches from the lanyard.
Now, Matt's, it fits snugly. If you have a smaller lens, you're just going to set it right over there. Like mine's like a 67 millimeter. You're just going to set it right on there, so it doesn't have to be a snug fit.
Correct. Now, when it's flashing, you're going to go over to your subject. You don't want to take the sample photo from where you're going to shoot. You want to go to your subject, and you want to take it where the light is coming from.
Right, you're going to shoot the light source, not your subject, because most of the time you're always doing exposure from where you're. So you would think, well, Matt's going to show you. You'd think you'd walk over there and shoot her face. You're not. He's going to actually shoot the lights here in the studio.
Correct. So while it's flashing pre, I'm going to go over to Pamela, and I'm just going to point up at the light source and take a shot.
That's it. Now on the top of your camera, if it worked, and hopefully it will, it literally says, good. It flashes, good. Now, if you are a Canon user, don't worry, because when you buy an Expo disc, it comes with a DVD with it that shows 5 different Canon users all setting it step by step. There's one extra step for Canon than there is for Nikon. So if you are, you can, and of course you can go download the step by step from their website.
It's got a PDF, the whole,
Yeah,
the disc has it all.
But it's a no-brainer. All right, but that's the whole thing. So let me just go over. Step 1 is you go ahead and you can shoot a reference photo. Step 2 is then you basically go turn on your white balance. You're going to put this in front of it. You shoot at the lights, and you're done. That's it. Your custom white balance is set. Now let me tell you where this really comes in handy. Let's say that you're a wedding photographer. You're going to be shooting inside the church, one setting. You're going to be shooting outside the church. You're going to be shooting in the reception hall. You get there before the guests do. You get there before the bride and groom do. And you go and you save. I think the D200 will hold 5 or 6 different custom white balance settings. So the rest of the day, you just switch to your custom white balance settings. Everywhere you go, your custom white balance is done.
Correct.
Do you have anything to add to this?
All I'm going to add is I'm going to take one more after photo.
There we go.
From the same spot. Beautiful, Pamela. Beautiful.
Look at the camera loves you.
And you know what? I'm going to put the before and after photos on the screen. I don't think you have to say anything more.
Yeah, that pretty much tells the story.
Yeah,
it pretty much tells the story.
When you see the before and after photos, as you do right now,
Thank you, Pamela.
you will know how much time you will save in Photoshop.
Right. Now, again, I think they sell for around $79, is that right? And they're not a sponsor, they're not anybody like that, but they're, every time we run across something cool, and everybody that we know is buying these now. We heard about them, of course. We saw Matt and I saw Monty Zucker use them. Then I saw David Zeiser use them at Photoshop World. And once you see enough people use them and swearing by them, then we kind of went crazy. So we're just passing this on to you as our friendly tip of the week. All righty. Well, you know, it's now time. It's Miller time. No, it's time to take a short break. We'll stick around. We'll be right back with more Dave's tutorial, Matt's tutorial, and a whole lot more, and maybe even a special laddie, Photoshop laddie, right here on Photoshop TV. We'll be right back.
Home Dock Deluxe, the essential entertainment center for the iPod. Enjoy all of your music, pictures, and video right on your TV and home stereo system. Home Dock Deluxe is the only iPod dock with on-TV navigation of your iPod's music. Nothing is better than browsing your tunes on your TV with remote in hand. The 18-button remote and on-TV navigation of your music makes the Home Dock Deluxe the only choice for your living room. DLO Home Dock Deluxe, where your iPod lives at home.
We are back. I'm Scott Kelby with Dave Cross and Matt Kloskowski. And speaking of Dave Cross and Matt Kloskowski, Dave Cross, you brought us a tip.
I do have a tip. It's a little technique that I thought I'd focus on because of a couple of things, not the least of which is someone asked a question. Is there a way to make kind of a lighting effect that you had a bit more flexibility to move? And they also threw in a bit of lens flare question, which is always good. So that's what we're going to do. All right, so here's my photo, and what I'm going to do to be able to have this effect, I want to be able to really move that lighting effect around. I'm going to duplicate the background layer, so Command or Control J, and then add canvas size. Now, depending on how much you want to be able to move that effect will determine how much canvas you want to add. So I'm going to add about 1.5 inches around the outside using that relative button, and then I'll zoom back down so you can see what I've got. Okay, so now we're going to add a new layer on top. I'm going to fill that new layer with black. And to that layer, we're going to add a lighting effect, so render lighting effects. Now, normally, if you try to add a lighting effect to a black layer, it doesn't work unless you really push all the settings. So I have the style set to soft omni, the light tight to omni, and I'm going to push all these settings up, most particularly the exposure setting. I'm going to really push that up. Okay, maybe not that high, something like that. So now you can see I'm starting to get the effect that I want. Now, depending on what you're looking for, this is where you can play a little bit. I want something like that. If you really want to experiment, you can also Option or Alt drag the light source to add more than one light. I'm not going to bother in this particular case because it's really not adding very much. I'm just going to go with this effect here. And then we click OK. So now we have this little lighting effect. Of course, you cannot see the underlying photo, but if I change the blend mode to screen is what I meant to say, even though I picked that one. Now you can see the little lighting effect, but because I made it so big, I can really position it around. Now it's a little bit much, so let's lower the opacity just a little bit. Okay. Now you could leave it just like that, but this is kind of the fun part of this, is there's lots of things you can do to experiment. If I change the blend mode back to normal again, you can see this is the reason I made all that extra canvas so it's movable. So if I want to only see it in these areas, I hold down the Command or Control key and click on this layer to load as a selection, and on my top layer, add a layer mask. Now as long as these two, see there's this little link button in between, and as long as that link symbol is there, they'll move together. I want to turn that off, and this way, if I go back to my layer, now you can see how I can move that effect around within the area inside. Okay, so that's the basic idea. Now what makes this kind of interesting also is you can do this same effect with the lens flare filter. So I'm going to add a black layer, fill it with black, and then once again, this time go render lens flare. Just get the basic look that I want, and then, as before, change the blend mode to screen. And now you'll be able to see that I have, you can barely see it because it's so subtle, but there you can barely see the effect. I'll zoom in a little bit here. This is the same effect. Now it works on different photos, it would work a little bit better, but you get the idea. Now I have two different effects that I can easily move around simply by using that effect of putting on a black layer and then changing the blend mode to screen.
Way cool, Mr. Cross. Thank you very much. Well, guys, it's time for Photoshop News. Standing by right now in the Photoshop Action News Center is our man, Matt Kloskowski, with the latest in Photoshop News.
Well, the news this week is brought to you by the folks over at Peach Pit. Go to peachpit.com/PhotoshopTV. You get money off on books, you get free shipping, all kinds of cool things, so go check it out. First off, the folks over at Digital Film Tools have announced a brand new version of Snap. It's called Snap 2 for Photoshop. And what it is essentially is an image cutout tool. It isolates objects in Photoshop. Very cool tool. Go check it out at digitalfilmtools.com. Next, check out myphotopipe.com. We've mentioned this before on Photoshop TV, and I'm going to mention it again because it's news, because you guys get free stuff from it, or at least discounts, I should say. You don't get free stuff, but you get discounts. So go check out myphotopipe.com. If you enter the code in, it's PSTV10. Enter in that code and you get money off of your order. Great place to go order your photos. Next up, the folks over at Wacom. They have replaced, Wacom had a 4x5 tablet, which was a great travel size tablet. Great if you've got a small desk. Well, they've replaced that with a 4x6 widescreen tablet. So more and more photographers and graphic designers are using the widescreen, so why not have a wide tablet to go with it? So it's 4x6, replacing the 4x5, along with all of the other Wacom tablets that you have. So you can go check those out over at Wacom.com. That's it for the news this week. Back to Photoshop TV.
Alrighty, thanks, Matt, for the news. And now it's time for Photoshop on the Road. All right, here's where your Photoshop guys and friends are going to be in the coming months teaching Photoshop. Matt Kloskowski will be rocking the house out in Maui, that poor guy. He'll be out there at the Institute for Visual Arts on November 9th through 11th, so go find out more at visualimpact.org. Bert Monroy, of course, will be in London. He'll be at the Business Design Center. First time for Bert over there. Big show. Go check it out. It's only £99 if you live anywhere in the UK. Come check it out. That's on October 27th. Then Bert's going to be back in the United States on November 4th in New York City. Also, Dave Cross, Dandy Dave Cross, Dapper Dave Cross, will be in Denver on October 20th, and then on to San Diego on November 3rd. And you can find out more about all those seminars at photoshopseminars.com. I'm going to be in Los Angeles on November 2nd, and then I'll be in Honolulu in December as well. Check out those dates on photoshopseminars.com as well. While you're there, what the heck? Check out the InDesign seminar with Taz Talley and Terry White, coming to Atlanta on October 23rd, and then on to San Francisco on November 10th. Now, Ben Wilmore has got his Photoshop for Photographers tour coming to Sacramento on October 18th, then on to Portland, Maine. No, not Portland, Maine, Portland, Oregon on November 13th. And then Deke McClellan's taking his Masters of Photoshop tour over to Chicago on November 16th. November 6th. That's just it. November 6th. Check it out at PhotoshopSeminars.com. That's it for this episode's Photoshop on the Road. All right, and now it's time for Mr. Matt Kloskowski's Tipskowski. Very nice. What do you got?
I'm thinking.
Oh, this is not a good time to think of your tip. You actually...
No, I've got a very, very cool tip, and it's a feature that I'm going to guess most of you out there have not seen in Photoshop yet. Actually, I did a tutorial similar to this at Photoshop World, and it's amazing how many people just have never seen this. It is on using the Script Events Manager. Now, if you're asking where the heck the Script Events Manager is, you probably never saw it, because if you go into the File menu and you go to Scripts, that tends to be a place that a lot of people avoid. But there's this little thing down here called Script Events Manager, and it was new in CS2. Now, what the Script Events Manager does is, the way I explain this is, first, think of it as taking the word scripts out of it. You don't need to know how to write a script to use this. If you look at the dialog here, you see what happens. The Photoshop event. So these are all events in Photoshop. I can start the application, I can create a new document, I can open, I can save, I can do all these things, and they're events in Photoshop. Photoshop knows when all these things happen. Well, whenever one of these things happens, I can either run a script, or I can tell the Script Events Manager to run an action. So if you can write an action, you can use a Script Events Manager. So let's do just that. Let's click Done here and start to think of things that you wish every time you did something in Photoshop, this would occur. So fill in the blanks there. What things do you wish always occurred? A good example of this is when you create copyright, when you add copyright information to your images. Why would you not always want to do that on new images? Why, you keep yourself protected and you don't have to worry about it. If it doesn't take any time, it's very easy to do. So why not always have yourself protected? So the way it works is, let's create a brand new file here. It can be any size file, anything, it doesn't matter because you're not actually using this file. What we will do is go over to your Actions palette, and I'm going to add this into this Speed Clinic folder here. So you see the little folder named Speed Clinic. That's an action set. I'm going to create a new action in here. And in that new action, I'm going to title it Copy, if I could spell copyright, Copyright Info, and hit Record. Now everything I do in Photoshop is being recorded. Here's the thing. All you want to do is one thing in this action. Go to the File menu, go down to File Info, and inside the File Info dialog, just type in any information you want to always appear with your new images. So let's start off author. I'll put Matt K. Description, my work, and we'll go down to copyright 2006, Matt K, and you can put your URL down here. Now, I've got all my information with this one image. Just hit OK, press the Enter Return key, and it gets saved for that one image. And if you look in the Actions palette here, you can see that action just recorded that one step. So just hit Stop. So it sounds a little bit weird, but all we did was make an action with one step in it. So now what we do here is go to the File menu, and let's go ahead and let's close down the image that we just created so we know that there's nothing else going on behind the scenes, and go to the File menu, go down to Scripts, Script Events Manager again, and under Photoshop Events, pick the event when you want this to happen. I don't want this to happen when I start the application. I want it to happen whenever I create a new document. So choose New Document, and remember the script thing. We don't know how to write scripts, but we know how to write an action. So choose Actions, and in here just find the folder and the action that you just created. So set that action to run, and then the last thing, and it sounds silly, but you've got to click Add. Once you click Add, you'll see it appear right inside this list here, and that means it's active, it's going to start running. So just hit Done, and what we can do at this point is let's create a new file, and I'll even make it a different size just to show you it's a whole different file here. Hit OK, and take a look under File, File Info. Remember, we didn't do anything, you didn't see anything happen, but I look under file info, and there's all of my copyright information. So that's just one example, but start to think of things inside Photoshop that you wish that you could do all the time. A good example is maybe whenever I start the application, I start Photoshop, I create an action that goes to Window Workspace, and it resets my palette locations. Maybe when I save a file, I want it to maybe automatically go save off a copy of a flattened image, or whenever I flatten the image, I want to save off a copy of the layered file. There's a lot of different things that you can do with this, so make sure you check it out. And if you want to use it in bad ways, start to think of things that maybe you could do to your friends. You know, maybe whenever they opened up an image, automatically closed it. Don't be talking off the screen.
No. It's lovely.
But maybe whenever they open up an image, you could create an action that closed it, or do some little pranks to them. But that's a script events manager, and as you can see, it's really not that hard to use. You just have to write an action for it. So.
Alrighty, well, thank you, Matt. Hey, guys, we're going to take a short break, but when we come back, in my place will be the Photoshop Latte. So stick around. A lot more Photoshop TV coming up, and the Latte.
Hey, things have changed, wouldn't you say, on the set a little bit?
A little bit.
Hello.
Different color shirt, Dave.
No, but Photoshop Laddie has joined us to finish off today's show so we can give you some things to do and also go over our contest.
He stole my Wacom pen.
He's a new guy. You got to give him some slack. So first of all, let me tell you, last week's contest was how do you get this little dialog box that says the precise lens flare when you're using lens flare filter, and the answer was to either Option or Alt-click in the lens flare filter. Oh. So the lucky winner is this person. Ta-da!
Oh,
good for them.
One day I hope to be right with my pattern maker answer.
Yeah, just one of these days I'll come up with a question just so that could be the answer.
I can be right.
So now for this week's contest we have some prizes, don't we, Matt?
We do have prizes.
What do
we
we
have
have?
got the Best of Photoshop TV DVD. As Dave said in the last show, it's short because there's not a good lot of good things that come out of this show.
The complete first season.
We also have
some book.
We have the Photoshop CS2 Speed Clinic by me. I'll give a shameless plug. The tutorial I did is from that book. So if you like that kind of stuff, there's lots of cool tutorials on just working faster in Photoshop. And if you'd like, I'll even sign a copy if you would like. If you don't want, I won't sign a copy. And then finally, we have the Adobe Illustrator Techniques newsletter.
Hey, can I add one thing about that? I'm not going to, whether you said yes or no, I will anyway.
No.
This is the first issue, and now we're just going to production on the third issue, and we've already going to increase it by 4 pages. So it's already getting larger.
Sweet.
So it's officially 28 pages, starting with issue 3.
Very cool.
Excellent.
And I got to say, go check out the website. It's, what is the website, Dave? Illustrator Technique. I have a bookmark, that's why I don't know. But go check out the website because there's definitely a lot of cool things. There's a gallery on there. There's a forum. So even if you're checking out the newsletter, deciding whether or not to subscribe, you can still go check.
There's actually a PDF you can download with sample pages too, so you can see what it looks like.
Yeah, definitely. Go.
So
take a look.
Oh, and are we going to throw in a NAP membership?
Why not?
Well, now that I said it, I guess we better.
Yeah.
So
I'd really look great if I said no.
No, Matt says no membership. So that's your great selection of prizes, and we're going to show you a graphic right now, and you have to answer the question, where do you find these options?
Corey, do you know?
I do.
It's not the
Yes,
pattern
I do.
maker. Before you ask. So if you go to PhotoshopTV.com, as always, and look for the Enter This Contest link, and you can send your one entry in, and good luck to you.
Cool.
Superb.
So,
I assume there's something next.
there is. Yes,
Corey, what's next? Don't we love doing
Recently-
that to people?
What's next? I don't know.
What is
Don't ask
next?
me.
Recently,
Three things to do.
We always start by
Or
saying
three things to do.
we're going to give you 3 things to do between this week and next week. So Corey, give them something to do.
First thing, when you get a chance, go and check out that'smymonkey.com, a new site recently launched. It's got a bunch of really cool techniques for digital photographers. Really off-the-wall name, but a very, very cool site.
Yeah,
check it out.
Very good. I'd also like you to go and take a look at a new website, Cruising Through Life. And the reason I'm going to be telling you more about that over the coming weeks, but next August 2007, I'll be going on a cruise to Alaska with Moose Peterson and Vincent Versace. It'll be a Photoshop/photography tour, so I hope you'll join me. Again, I'll be talking more about it, including a fabulous contest prize we'll be mentioning in coming weeks. But for now, check out cruisingthroughlife.com.
And I would like to ask you to not go check out the go check out the Photoshop blog. Now, this is run by a friend of ours, Jennifer Apples. She does a great job of collecting all of the Photoshop news in the industry. She puts it all into one place. So if you go to photoshopsupport.com, and you'll see a little place for the blog on that page there. So go check out Jennifer's blog. Great stuff.
Right. Well,
I think it's done.
I think it's done. I think we don't have Scott here to wind things up, so we'll just say that ends another excruciatingly fun episode. And stay tuned next week, same time, same place, and join us again for another episode of Adobe Photoshop TV.
See you next week.